The version 2 Psion Organiser top slot cases have come back. This is the small case, and unfortunately I've made a mistake with the sort of interlocking of the lid and the case, so I can't actually fit that on there. But once I sort that out, it looks like it will work. So I haven't put that on, obviously, but what I have done, I've put a USB adapter in here, and obviously there's no cutouts there or holes for the LEDs or anything. The idea is that the model is changed to take account of whatever you want to put in here. It's quite easy to do, and the cases are quite cheap. So you'd have cutouts for the LED and the USB socket and so on, and that would be specifically for this PCB. So if I turn that on, press enter, you can see that it's loaded the comms software, so we can go in there to term. There's nothing coming out, but it is running the code, everything seems fine there. And actually, I haven't got a USB cable. I think the light would actually show through the case. Let's give that a go. Can I find a USB cable? Probably not. Oh yes, here we go. But obviously I can't plug it in, can I? Oh well, forget that. Yeah, so this one quite nice. Let's turn it off. There we go. So it unplugs and plugs. I think the connector's a little bit high maybe, but the screw hole matches the hole in the PCB, so we should be able to screw the lid on, and that would be the only way of fixing that lid on. And it looks sort of like that, versus this is the, let's put it together, this is the case, the original. So it's, well, it's a little bit deeper in that direction, but that's because I haven't got the recess around the lid. Everything else is sort of pretty similar. You can see that that's pretty much the same, although that tongue goes in a bit deeper there. What I'm going to do is compare the model with the real one and then go through it and see what I'm going to change. The PCB fits in there fairly nicely because there's no hole. The LED is sort of pushing it up a bit, but I think it's about right there. I need to go through and check that in detail, but that is a sort of workable case, almost. It's well on the way. There's going to be a version 3, it looks like, because there are a few problems with that, but that was actually loading the ROM with that inserted. I've also done this, which is the larger version of the top slot case, and that's got the recesses, and they are correct, so there's a little flange or whatever around there and a recess in the top, and this does clip together really nicely. That is a really nice fit. Unfortunately I've put 4 screw posts inside to fix the lid on, and there's 4 holes. They all line up perfectly. Problem is, these bottom 2 actually foul components on the PCB. So you can see there's a PCB slot runner here and here, and they're so low that there's very little room on this side of the PCB to actually have any components, and they foul these screw posts. So what I'm going to do is remove those 4 and put 2, one in the middle of here and one in the middle of here, so there'll be 2 screws on the top, and this really fits in really nicely. It snaps in, and that doesn't actually fall off. I mean, you need something to hold it in permanently, but that is a nice fit in there. So I also need to change this sort of area in here to make it so that the connector on the PCB actually fits in better. You can see that the black plastic part of the connector, oh, that's the wrong type of PCB. Don't think it will go in there, will it? Oh, it might do. It's not allowing that connector to go through the hole and down into the connector in the organiser far enough when I put a PCB in there. I've sort of rammed one of my speech adapters in there, and it's a tight fit and it's difficult to get it out again. So that needs sorting out. This is really rigid. This, I'd say, I mean, These short sides don't flex at all. The long sides a little bit, and the top is much more rigid, and that's because I've upped the thickness of the case. It's now 2mm instead of 1, and that has made a huge difference. Actually, let's try the lid of this. Okay, a bit of flex in the lid of that, and there's less flex in the lid of the new one. So the original actually flexes a little bit more. Let's try this. Yeah, you can see that flexing actually there, and this one, yeah, it is flexing but not as much. So it could be that the new 3D printed cases are actually stiffer, maybe even tougher than the original, although I think they're ABS, and that's pretty tough stuff. This is a resin, but if you wanted to, you could get this printed in any number of different resins. They also do FDM instead of a resin 3D print, so it might be worth having a look at that, because their printers might be higher resolution than mine. This is a very high resolution resin print. And there's no clip. Now it might be possible to put that in actually. I don't know, this is fairly flexible resin, might work well in a nylon, which you can get this printed in. And there's other features in here which I haven't put in. There's quite a lot of various bits and bobs going on, and also nowhere to put a label. Might be an idea to put a label in there. And I think this is a ribbed area to help you pull the case out of the organiser, another one on the other side. But I've rounded everything off, and it's sort of more obvious what it is now. It actually looks like a case, whereas before it just looked like a box. So yeah, version 2, I think a little bit of work for version 3. Then what I might do is make one for the USB adapter. See how we get on with that.